Adam here with the 48th weekly Brisbane update for 2025. If you want to keep across some big changes and plans for the Greater Brisbane area before they happen, keep watching and you'll always be in the know. This week, changes in road congestion, new housing regulations that may help with housing affordability, 2032 Olympics updates, changes to parking and infrastructure, and much more. This video is sponsored by YB Painting Services, who are offering a special 15% discount until the 1st of January on any painting services, but more on that later. I've also got 10 Admit 2 tickets to give away to the preview screening of the Housemaid, so stick around for that as well. We'll start with Brisbane's traffic congestion. Is it better or worse compared with a year ago? Well, the Global Traffic Scorecard for 2025 has been released by INRIX. It compares over 900 cities around the world, ranking their traffic congestion based on time commuters lose to congestion each year. We have questioned the validity of the report in a previous video here on the Brisbane channel, and I'll put a link to that in the video description as well as on the screen at the end of this video. Make sure you watch that before expressing any outrage in the comments on this video. But putting those questions aside, we can at least get some idea of the direction of change by comparing the figures this year to those of the same report last year, and it's good and bad news. Let's start with the bad news. We're still ranked as worst in Oceania, with an average of 81 hours lost by the average commuter each year to congestion. That places us at number 14 on the list of the worst cities for congestion in the world. But the good news is that there is an improvement on our ranking on last year, and it's not just because other cities have become worse, but because our situation has apparently become slightly better. Ignoring the rankings themselves, which are really meaningless. Again, check out the video linked in the description and at the end of this one to find out why. But looking just at how Brisbane performed, the report found that we are losing 4% less time to congestion than we were last year, when the average time lost by commuters was 84 hours each year. I don't put much stock in that report, but it's a different story when it comes to the Cotality reports that look at how housing and rental prices have changed in Australia over time. They've released their end-of-year Best of the Best report, and we can see just how crazy some suburbs have become. This is the first time in history that Brisbane's median dwelling price exceeded $1 million, and it's not looking like becoming any better anytime soon. Looking at the 10 most expensive suburbs in Brisbane, the median house price ranges from just over $2.2 million in Brookfield up to over $3.6 million in Chandler. And for units, the range in the top 10 is from about $1 million to over $1.2 million up in Newport. Of the most affordable suburbs for houses, 4 of the top 10 are South Moreton Bay islands, with Russell Island the cheapest, the only one where the median price is below $500,000. As for the cheapest suburbs for units, the very cheapest doesn't really count, as it's Coralbin, which is in the Scenic Rim LGA and therefore not actually in Greater Brisbane. Of the 9 that are, Woodridge and Logan Central are the only 2 suburbs where the median price is below $500,000. Brisbane City saw the largest increase in house values over the year, and Hillcrest in Logan was the suburb where unit prices increased the most, 30% in the year to September. And when looking at where unit rents saw the biggest increase, Logan had 5 of the 10 suburbs with the most dramatic rises. But for house rental increases, 8 out of the 10 that saw the biggest increase were in Brisbane. Definitely not great times to be looking for a place to buy or rent. You may have heard of the Optus mobile network outages around Australia, and on Wednesday the Brisbane area was hit by outages of its NBN network, with the side effect being that customers whose landline phones connected via the internet were unable to make 000 calls. The outage was caused by a network server failure. Issues were first noticed around 4 AM and the outage was resolved by 7:30 PM the same day. For those of you who have reported feeling Olympics fatigue already, you may want to skip the next few updates covering announcements, protests, and more announcements. Firstly, the Australian Olympic Committee has announced the Games vision for the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The vision is a short expression that sums up the ethos of the Games and is different from the tagline. The vision for the Paris Olympics was "Sport can change lives," and for Los Angeles it will be "Together we can change the future." Brisbane's vision is
Believe.
Belong.
Become. Brisbane 2030.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
But as the committee were celebrating the launch of their games vision, others were planning a protest against the development of Victoria Park on Saturday. While I'm filming this on Friday, I can tell you about their plan and the basis for their protest. They're calling on the IOC to honour their contract and protect Barrambin, the Indigenous name for the area that is now Victoria Park. The contract they're referring to is the host city contract between the IOC, Brisbane City Council, the Queensland Government and the Australian Olympic Committee. Protest organisers point to clause 15.3 of the contract that states when new permanent venues need to be constructed, the host NOC and the OGOC shall ensure that they are not located in or adjacent to statutory nature, cultural protected areas or World Heritage sites, pointing out that all 64 hectares of Victoria Park are listed on the Queensland Heritage Register due to their cultural and heritage significance. So despite the Queensland Government this year introducing laws that made it legal to bypass heritage regulations for Olympic venues, the protesters say that there is still a breach of contract if the IOC allows the development to go ahead. During their call to the IOC, they plan to link some of the oldest trees in the park with red thread and form a human Olympic rings. But moving away from Victoria Park to a different venue that hasn't had much attention so far, the state government has released 2.3 hectares of land for the expansion of the Queensland Tennis Centre in preparation for the Games. But they've also released 2 neighbouring land parcels to market, another hectare in total, for the residential and mixed-use precinct that they say will help tackle the housing crisis. On the plus side, it is right by Yerongpilly Station, but it will be interesting to see how many of the resulting homes are actually affordable to most of the population. However it unfolds, we'll be here on the Brisbane channel following along and keeping you in the loop. If you're not subscribed with all notifications turned on, maybe it's time you jumped on board. Moving to the LGA specific updates, some significant changes have been announced this week that may have some impact on housing affordability in Brisbane. Council have announced their More Homes Sooner initiative, which is being sold as a way to unlock thousands more homes for younger buyers and downsizers in well-serviced middle ring suburbs. The aim is to make it easier to build in low-medium density zones by adjusting regulations related to building heights, parking and lot sizes. The changes proposed include increasing the allowable building height from 2 to 3 stories to 3 stories and 4 stories in select areas near frequent public transport or shops, reducing the minimum block size from 260 square metres to 120 square metres, and simplifying the development assessment process so that developments can be assessed quickly and easily. Parking space requirements will also be reduced. You may remember that in last week's update, we saw reports that those early costs when building a new home have become quite extreme in southeast Queensland, so it will be interesting to see what impact these changes will have on those costs, and how much impact increased supply of low-medium density housing will have overall on housing supply and affordability. The leader of council opposition, Jared Cassidy, welcomes the changes, saying they're long overdue, but adds that if the Lord Mayor wants to reduce car parking requirements, he needs to back it up with more public transport that connect our suburbs together, not just in and out of the city. Otherwise, the city will continue to suffer with congested streets. Whether you're building your own new home or want to make your existing one look $1 million, the sponsor of this video, YB Painting Services, are offering a massive 15% discount on any job with them in the coming year that's booked between now and New Year's Day. They recently won first or second place in 5 different categories of the Master Painters Australia Queensland Awards for 2025, and when you see their professionalism and the quality of their work, it's no surprise. With fixed pricing and a 5-year warranty on all their work, you can be sure there'll be no unpleasant surprises. Claim your special 15% discount by scanning this QR code or the link in the video description by New Year's Day. This video has a lot of updates relating to what the face of Brisbane will look like in the future, so let's cover a few new developments announced. The Fox Hotel in South Brisbane is set to reopen in 2026, but with a return to the site's former identity, Hotel Terminus. It will undergo a major restoration with bistro, event spaces, a music and cocktail lounge called the Vixen Room, and the Fox Rooftop, all ensuring the venue remains a key nightlife and entertainment address. Adding to housing supply in Upper Mount Gravatt will be a 2-building residential development with 150 homes, including 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments, with a revised development application submitted in November. And another application has been submitted for an 8-storey apartment building with 96 units on Wynnum Road in Cannon Hill. It will also have retail outlets on the ground level. One long overdue update for Brisbane is that the new Centenary Bridge over the Brisbane River at Jindalee opened this week. Traffic will be moved off the old bridge in stages to allow it to be rehabilitated and repurposed as a 3-lane southbound bridge. With over 85,000 vehicles crossing the river at Jindalee every day, the new bridge is hoped to help handle the expected increase in traffic volume as the city grows. Do you have a local business or a business that serves the people of Greater Brisbane and you want to broaden your reach more people who live in this area, this part of the world? Well, maybe it's time going into the new year that you considered promoting your business on the Brisbane channel. Now, I do have a vetting process. I only promote businesses that I truly believe are excellent businesses because the reputation of my channel hangs on it, and credibility is everything for this channel. But if you think you've got something really great to offer, then definitely get in touch, because I've definitely got some slots that are open in the coming year for some promotion. I can even make some dedicated videos if it's something that would be of interest to the viewers of the channel. So yeah, give me an email, adam@thebrizzychannel.com, and yeah, we can throw around some ideas. I can check out your business and we can see if there's a future for us to cooperate. Would be good. A quick update on parking in Brisbane. From next year, drivers will have 2 options to pay for street parking, with PayStay being added as an alternative to Cello Park from March of 2026. More Brisbane motorists are choosing to pay by app, with credit card meter payments falling by 18% since 2020. Increased update of payment by apps will help reduce reliance on parking meters, whose maintenance costs add up to around $1.7 million each year. So far, 2,600 of Brisbane's 9,126 paid spaces are digital only, and this number is expected to increase over time. If you get anything out of this update video, don't forget to hit the like button. That tells YouTube it's worth showing to more people and really helps the channel. You can also say thanks by buying me a coffee, or support the costs that go into keeping the production quality consistent by becoming a channel member, which also gets you access to extra videos and other perks. Members will now be listed at the end of the video. Looking for free and affordable activities for you or your family over the summer holidays? Well, there's a bunch of options, including the return of $2 dips, with $2 entry to all 22 of Brisbane's public pools. And of course, there's the Christmas in Brisbane program. There's free BMX skills workshops that will be held at pump tracks around the suburbs. And there's active and healthy classes offering free and low-cost sessions in activities ranging from tennis to fishing. And there's also the Visible Ink Youth Hub, which has free drop-in activities including jam sessions and art workshops. To find out more, head to brisbane.qld.gov.au and search school holiday events. Moving to the Redlands, and it's no secret the council has its issues. In the 2024-25 financial year, the Office of the Independent Assessor, the body that deals with complaints around councillor conduct, received 1,008 complaints from across the state. Of those, 114 were about Redlands councillors, and many of those were reportedly submitted by other Redlands councillors. Over the last 16 months, 8 senior members of council staff have resigned. So this week it was revealed that a governance advisor has been appointed to work with the council until May next year. The advisor will work with councillors and Mayor Joss Mitchell before reporting back to the assessor on how the council can best be supported. The advisor will work part-time at the council's expense. Now up to Moreton Bay, where Caboolture Historical Village will receive $140,000 a year from council for the next 3 years as they develop a new business and marketing plan. The village preserves local heritage through exhibitions, collections and interactive displays, and it also offers educational experiences and hosts community events. Also in Moreton Bay, residents have the chance to win $25 or $50 book vouchers as part of the Summer Reading Club. Running until the 31st of January, it's an initiative aimed at encouraging people of all ages to spend time reading, with every 3 hours of reading time, and that even includes audiobooks, qualifying you for an entry into the draw. Schools can also win trophies for having the highest percentage of their students participating, or for the largest number of school community members reading. I've put a link in the video description for more info. Alright, time for my 2 cents. And this week, I want to talk about something you don't see often in Brisbane. The council's LNP majority and the Labor opposition in council actually agreeing on something. That something is the More Homes Sooner initiative I mentioned earlier in this update video. It focuses on developments that fall in the space between traditional standalone homes and high-rise apartments, things like townhouses, walk-up units, and small to medium apartment buildings. Normally, anything to do with density triggers a pretty heated debate, and the two sides at City Hall are quick to fire shots at each other. But interestingly, in this case, Labor has actually agreed with the LNP's proposal. And honestly, that tells me that both sides probably recognise we need a more realistic conversation about how our city grows. Now, I know that when you talk of increasing density, some people instantly imagine a 20-story tower popping up next to their backyard. But that's not really what low-medium density means. It's more about creating small clusters of homes that fit in between those two extremes, and allowing slightly more people to live close to transport, shops, schools, and jobs. And in my view, Greater Brisbane needs that. Our population is growing faster than almost any other capital city. There's over 600 people moving to Brisbane each week, and other LGAs, particularly Moreton Bay, Ipswich and Logan, are projected to grow faster than pretty much any other parts of Australia over the next decade or two, and yet we're still trying to house people using patterns that worked 30 or 40 years ago. The result is that we're pushing new residents further and further out into areas where transport is limited, services are lagging, and infrastructure always seems to be playing catch-up. Remember, only a third of residents in Greater Brisbane have access to frequent, reliable public transport. So I actually think it's refreshing to see both political sides agreeing that we can't keep doing density the way we've been doing it for so long. And over the last year or so, we've seen other Greater Brisbane LGAs starting to look at how to increase housing density while still maintaining the character that drew residents to those suburbs in the first place. Off the top of my head, I remember talking about Moreton Bay, the Redlands and Ipswich, all pointing to changes in how they approach housing and the infrastructure that serves their suburbs in the last few months. But at the same time, there are some things that I hope councils keep front of mind. Firstly, community consultation needs to be real and informed, not just a box-ticking exercise. If people feel like changes are being dumped on them without being properly explained, that's when you get fear, rumours and pushback, even if the changes are actually sensible ones. Secondly, density on its own isn't a solution. You can approve all the townhouses you like, but if the nearest bus runs only once an hour, or maybe even not at all on weekends, or the footpaths disappear halfway down the street, or the local school is already overflowing, then you're just creating new problems. Good density needs to come with connected transport, green space, local shops and facilities, and basic infrastructure. Not years later, but at the same time. And finally, we need more honest conversation in Brisbane about what kind of city we want to become. Because population growth isn't slowing down, and pretending that every suburb should stay exactly as it is forever doesn't help anyone. Not first home buyers, not renters, not even existing homeowners who want their local area to stay livable. So in that sense, I'm glad to see a rare moment of kind of agreement between the LNP and Labor in council. It tells me that maybe, just maybe, we're moving past the stage where density is treated as some kind of political football and towards a point where we can actually talk about it like grown-ups. But if I'm honest, I do think that with the inherently adversarial nature of our political system, perhaps that's still just a pipe dream. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. As always, feel free to disagree, agree, add your own ideas in the comments. I always learn from hearing your perspectives. Now let's get to the giveaway. Based on Frida McFadden's hit thriller novel, The Housemaid follows a wealthy and affluent couple, Nina and Andrew Winchester, and their housemaid Millie. Millie is seeking a fresh start while trying to leave behind the shadows of her past, but she soon realizes that the Winchesters' secrets may be more dangerous than her own. The Housemaid hits cinemas on Boxing Day, but I'm giving you the chance to see it with a friend in a special preview screening on the 18th at Event Cinemas Chermside at 6:30 p.m. I have 10 Admit 2 tickets to the preview to give away. To enter, make sure you're following the Brisbane Channel's Instagram, like the relevant post, and tag one friend in the comment on the post. Unfortunately, I can't use any footage from the trailer in this update, but I've put a link to it in the video description and on the screen at the end of this video. Definitely check it out, as this looks like a pretty interesting film. Based on past giveaways, it's likely the chance of being a winner will be pretty high, but you've got to be in it to win it. I said I'd put a link to the video where I questioned the INRIX Global Traffic Scorecard here, and also the trailer for The Housemaid. But also, if you missed last week's update, which it seems many people did, you can check that out here. See ya.